Swedish premium manufacturer is breaking into international markets. All-electric heavy-duty motorbikes
with striking designs. Founder and CEO
Stefan Ytterborn.
Stefan Ytterborn.
The future of electric motorcycles.
Cake.
So this is the Upsales Revenue Patrol bike produced by Cake, and today we're actually talking to Stefan Ytterborn, who is the CEO and founder of Cake Bikes, about growing rapidly and scaling revenue internationally. A warm welcome to another episode of Meet the CEOs. I'm your host, Daniel Wikberg, CEO and founder of Upsales. In this episode, we have Stefan Ytterborn with us. He's a serial entrepreneur and the CEO and founder of Cake Bikes. With a base in Stockholm, Sweden, Cake is currently expanding internationally and has a presence in countries such as the US, China, Japan, South Korea, Mexico, and countries all across Europe. So in this episode, we're going to cover Cake's rapid growth journey and how they managed to close multi-million euro deals in some of the world's biggest markets. So warm welcome, Stefan, and thanks a lot for joining us today.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So you founded Cake in 2016. Can you briefly tell us where the idea first came from?
Yeah, basically, I'd say that my previous business is a company named POC with the mission of saving lives and reducing consequences of accidents for gravity sports athletes by developing protection helmets, body armor, and so forth. While doing that, I ran into an electric motorbike for the first time at the ISPO show, which is a sports show in Munich. And I'm not the motorcycling guy, but the idea of being able to, explore the backcountry without polluting or without disturbing with something, silent and clean really got me going. So, I got myself one of those bikes, and that's where it all started. I came to realize that no one was really optimizing the character of the electric drivetrain in the market at the time, together with the fact that it was going to become a booming market down the road with the transition that we're now in. So a combination between passion for the product, the passion for riding it, and eventually an escalating market. Those things in combination really drove me to start the business.
All right. I tried to do a bit of desk research by just looking at the latest annual report, but you guys are growing so rapidly, so it's probably irrelevant now. But where's the company right now in terms of numbers?
No, I'd say that it's been a very tough year because, again, we're a company which has, it's capex heavy. It's it takes time to get to the point where we actually become cash flow positive. So from the start, again, we started the business in 2016. We've been in the market pretty much since mid 2019. Initially with one platform, and now we have 5 platforms in the market. So it's been very much about developing product and establishing a strong brand, on a global basis. And again, our intention from day one has been to become cash flow positive by 2025. But during this past year, due to macroeconomic reasons, it's been tough in raising additional funding, which is has been in the plan. And I'd say that also the market has stagnated. A huge chunk of our business is business-to-business related, where short-haul urban transportation commercial players, were about to change their fleets, going from cars to two-wheelers, going from combustion to electric and so forth. And all of that is basically held back. And that's also why we needed to find new paths in terms of opening these deals that we're now doing mainly in Asia, but you mentioned Mexico as well. And I'd be happy to speak about that too. So this year, I think we're growing the business by potentially 50% in terms of turnover and revenue, but it's far from what the ambition had been looking at our numbers a year and a half ago before this financial reality came, chasing all of us, no matter what industry we're in.
So did you have a B2B idea from the start or strategy or?
So it's a bit complicated understanding what you do until you kind of lay the puzzle and it becomes tangible for the audience out there. So again, our contribution to sustainability, both from a business perspective as well as the climate, is to fight what we believe is the strongest enemy to the climate, which is our pace of consumption. We all buy too much, crap too often that ends up being garbage before we know it. So in that sense, our main approach is to extend life cycles. And extending life cycles are built on 4 pillars in our world, which is purpose, innovation, performance, and physical quality. And with that said, developing the bikes from the beginning, we have an ongoing customer compliance with, a product that will, last for 8, 10, 12, 40 years versus the average of being 3 to 4 years, where everything, whether it be consumables and spare parts or updates when it comes to software, or to actually, bespoking and customizing your bike according to different needs is a built into the business model. So that is, how it's all embraced. And then looking at what our platform is, or our line of products actually, would be or is, I describe that as that we're in off-road and utility. And how does that come together? Because if we'd been the Kawasaki's or the Suzuki's of the world, we would never have, made those connections. But in our case, it's about understanding the challenges with bikes, jumping 30 meters when it comes to material, construction, making, and so forth to support the durability. And that is then being implemented in, our general products being used in, for urban reasons and supporting both, consumers, whether they're commuting or for whatever other reason, as well as our, most important segment, which is the commercial short-haul urban transportation haulers out there. So yes, that's where it started. And in the beginning, I can tell you, when I started, people were like, "Hey, Stefan, you're getting into this business, doing off-road bikes. That is a pretty limited market." And I'd say, yeah, hold it. There's a plan for it. We understand that, but now there's potentially a better understanding on how we're building product and line of products.
So looking at your website, you have this business section where you can read about this kind of B2B specific offering. And you're also moving into partly into software. Is that correct? With the Cake Connect offering?
Yeah. I'd say that again. I think it's something that would be expected by someone within transportation in general. We need to have solutions for fleet management for the commercial users. We need to have to support our users, whether they be consumers or someone else. Anything from tuning the bike, being able to unlock it from a distance to let the friend ride it, or right. When it comes to an arm and whatever it might be. So yes, there is a big chunk of software associated initiatives as well.
Right. And is that driving revenue as well, or is it just expected as part of the offering by these customers?
I think that at this point, we have not been able to structure it in a way that supports revenues the way it will, down the line. And I think that it's an ongoing process in terms of what we've actually taken a step back. We had much higher and more complex ambitions with user-associated software functionalities a year ago. But again, as time, when we get the user experience and the feedback from the market, we realize that there are certain things that we need to go deeper with before activating stuff that would be more of a luxury functionality to it. But I would say that software update at the distance, which is something that we can it doesn't matter if we have a user or a bike in Colombia or in Brazil or in China. We can actually, we're in constant connection with that specific unit, and understand, can do analysis as well as updating and so forth, and that will eventually, within a service program, be a part of something that will, produce revenues for us.
Right, and has that been like increasingly, what would you say? Increasingly easy thing to implement, driven by the likes of Lime and Voi that does similar stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I think that the competent. I think that yes, I'd say that we, and I would say that when we started, I mean, like any other startup, of course, you're a few guys, and your competence, your collective competence gets to a certain point. And as we've been able to grow the company, we've also been able to both attract as well as employ and hire people that with specific competences in this field. Together with the general, the space around transportation and software that has been booming. Yeah. So the ability on our side to actually find the right solutions out there is much, much better than when we started 5 years ago.
And you recently signed I think it was your 7th contract for entering a new market. So how does Cake approach a partnership like the one with, they're called Dos Ex Machina in Australia?
Yeah, that's an ongoing and a long relation between us. We started off working with, I think that we did a first test ride with our first bike, Calc, together with Deus in Milan, maybe 4 years ago. And I happened, for various reasons, actually, the people the company that actually acquired POC back in the days, they're also investors into Deus. And I knew Deus from, having been to Bali a few times, surfing and so forth. So, and had a strong kind of, passion for what they're doing. And one thing led to the other, and I got to know the management and the owners of Deus on a global scale. And we started off in Milan. We did a few activities together and so forth. So that was kind of a natural extension of just being around. And again, I'm very, I'd say, pragmatic about what success mainly comes from, and the proof is in the pudding. Right. We got a product that they love, and they wanted to, explore the opportunity of doing cake in Australia as well. So we have a common interest in product as well as a mutual respect between the two businesses. So that was an easy call. We have much more complicated deals that are being done, I'd say, that are not as evident from day one.
And are you approached by these kind of potential partners, or do you reach out?
We do very little outreach. It's very much again about having invested in products and brand with the relative with awareness being good on a global scale, and right. People associated to the business and the space that we're in. I don't want to sound that brag about the fact how great we would, how successful we would be in that sense. But it's very much on our side addressing the audience out there, no matter which geography or culture they'd be from, and making sure that we're visible and in the best of cases being appreciated, and people do show up in that sense. But again, we show up at trade shows and so forth as well. And at times there's someone that you meet at a trade show for the first time, and then things evolve from there. But again, there's no active outreach with someone, traveling the world, knocking on doors saying, hey, do you want to do business? It's right. It's a much more, I'd say, conscious kind of cultural pocket that we're in, where, that automatically kind of include these kinds of potential business relations.
All right. Okay. Can you share, are there any learnings and like a few things you wish you would have known about the differences in the markets you're active in?
Yes, I think that we're struggling with a number of things, like, our partners in Japan, for instance, and I truly appreciate their perspective, which is like very patient, doing things in a certain order. I used to tell myself and my colleagues, let's make sure not to make any shortcuts and so forth. But right. Compared to the Japanese, we are at rocket speed, because I'd say it's like surprisingly different and surprisingly slow. And I worked a lot with Japan before, but it's something which is evident to me and the organization as a whole. And then again, there are differences between even though I'm well experienced working in America with, different businesses and over a long time, there are always cultural differences that are different and that needs to be dealt with. Would I have done things differently from day one? Well, I don't know. I mean, again, looking at one of the big challenges right now is fundraising. I mean, everyone's sitting on their hands at this point, and that is something that actually puts you in a situation where you need to find alternative solutions to deal with the reality of things. If you're not able to raise money according to your initial plans, what do you do? And that's also why a lot of these new deals are coming up. I'd say that if we'd had the expected fundraising according to the initial plan, we would not have opened these new deals that we're doing in China, Mexico, and that we're negotiating in Indonesia, India, and so forth. That is simply a way of dealing with this kind of, I'd say, hazier, complicated reality of things. And it's not that I wouldn't, support the kind of, we always told ourselves, let's postpone Asia until we're mature in Europe and North America. While I think the Asian deal or the Chinese deal is the perfect kind of deal with specific markets where we don't have the resources ourselves to get in. In this case, our partner is a Chinese company named Shanghai Forever, and they're actually, they're listed on the Shanghai, the stock exchange. They're a producer of two-wheelers, motorized and non-motorized two-wheelers, producing between 6 and 7 million units per year. Wow. They also do distribution and sales. So they're totally vertically integrated. And this is the beauty of things. So we develop the product, we own all of the IP, and then there's a licensing agreement. So they produce, they distribute, and they sell. And we get a royalty back on that, which is beautiful in this constrained economy where we don't need to worry about working capital needs and so forth. Mm-hmm. Material, inventory, all else up in their lab. And what we get is, the gross margin 100% into our bottom line. So it's really a sweet solution due to, and again, we would never have put our efforts into to solve a deal or to come to a conclusion like we've done with the Chinese right now. So an example of how reality actually promotes innovation or new, new ideas. Yeah.
Exactly. So over the years, you founded several companies. The most recent one was, which we talked about, POC, which was sold to Black Diamond, I believe. Can you just tell us more about kind of your previous experiences? How have they helped you when scaling Cake?
I think that life is a long learning journey, which is you learn things on a daily basis. Every mistake is learning and promoting those and try to collect those and make something better from that is a I'd say satisfying pursuit. Have we done everything perfectly well according to where we're at right now? No, I can look back at a number of things that and again we make mistakes every day, but I'd say that I'm much more confident in what we're doing today than I was 20 or 25 years ago in other businesses. So I think that I have come to promote my intuition to a much higher degree. And again, what's intuition? Intuition is something which is being developed based on your experiences. Right. So, but my gut feeling has a much stronger kind of lead, and I spend less time analyzing, not because analyzing would be, at times it's super necessary, but there are certain things that are much faster in kind of supporting or actually killing for whatever reason, because it does not suit my previous experiences in that sense. So I think that I've become more efficient.
All right. So we talked a little bit about how you get these new partnerships. I mean, it's a lot about product and branding. But how is your sales organization structured? I mean, do you have a sales organization?
Yes, I think that another thing, well, again, speaking about things, how things should have been done differently. I think that when I started raising money for this most recent endeavor, Cake, everyone was expecting sales to be an online pursuit, just clicking stuff and reducing the number of physical sales initiatives needed. But again, buying something which is relatively high priced, it's a premium product. There are different regulations in terms of driver's licenses and ages and different classes between different types of vehicles. in different markets. So, and also the way
Right.
you can customize and bespoke product and so forth. And I'd say that back in 2017, 2018, when I was doing seeding rounds and the first A round in 2019, if I had not pushed the button saying that this is an online business, people would have, the investors would have come along because that was the only way forward.
Right.
But we've come to learn that the complexity of actually getting, to convert an interest to actually buy, it's a much more complex, journey than that. So we know, for instance, that 85% of all our sales are based on that someone actually had the opportunity of test driving our bike.
Okay.
So the most important thing is to get people's, asses on our bikes, because that's when the whole conversion starts, for real. So
Right.
that was, I think that we held back pushing on direct to user and online for too long, just because that was the tell of the trade at the time. And then we, by experience, learned that it's a different beast that we need to deal with. So getting back to our sales organization, we have a sales organization split between continents to some extent. There is the head office is here in Stockholm, and this is where our COO is based. And a few floors down, we have a sales force of about 20 people, and they're not only covering Sweden; they're also doing Asia. They're doing what we call rest of Europe, which is any country beyond countries where we don't have our own presence. And we have our own presence in Stockholm, Sweden, Paris, France, and Milan and Italy at this point. And then, so that's that. And then there is a North American organization, which is the sales organization as well, based in our headquarters for America and Los Angeles. And Asia is still being run from here, but I think it's a matter of a few months until we need to set up our Asian sales organization. And initially, or organization, I would say, because it's a combination between sales, QA, and QC, basically.
Right.
But initially, 4 or 5 guys to start with.
So another thing I was wondering, a lot of countries are doing this huge grants, like €1 billion investments in green initiatives. So how kind of correlated is your strategy? Do you try to align with these government grants, or is it not an issue for you?
It's an interesting, there's the different perspectives on this. One, would be the grants in regards to green initiatives. And we had very, I'd say, in-depth discussions together with Quebec State in Canada. They have, declared the fact that they aim to position Quebec to become the greenest, region in the world in terms of corporate related and business related initiatives. So that was one thing. In contrary, we started manufacturing in Taiwan because they have amazing quality, and that shows to be a limitation at this point, because there's this challenge with duties between different countries in Asia, where companies belonging to the ASEAN community, 16 countries where there's no duty, would have been a much better solution for us, and both for geopolitical reasons, with Taiwan being a challenging geography due to the conflict with China, but from a duty perspective, which is the main reason, we're moving out from Taiwan, and establishing it. We'll still be in Taiwan to some extent, but our main component manufacturing will end up being done in Vietnam, being a part of the ASEAN community, and therefore lubricating all of the duty punishments that we're now experiencing. Right. Have we known this from the beginning? Again, speaking about my kind of arrogant perspective on analyzing, had we known better from the beginning, I'd say that we would probably have found a way of starting in Vietnam, for instance, and not spending 5 years in Taiwan. So yes, there are things, but it's not directing our business. And this, just today we made a decision of actually entering Thailand, because there's this window open in Thailand right now where even though you're not within the ASEAN countries, you will be established a duty-free kind of business in the country if you kind of promise the government that within the next 3 years you will establish a permanent manufacturing facility in Thailand.
Right.
So there are things that we, that are being discussed and that we need to somewhat, respect and promote in our decision making. So it's not unlikely that we'll end up doing something manufacturing wise due to that same reason in Thailand, for instance. So yes, it's an ongoing kind of, whether it's for green reasons or duty reasons or whatever. We're in flux, moving around to sort out what makes the best sense to us.
But is there a sales aspect as well? I mean, does the sales team talk to governments to find deals or find revenue?
Yes, at times, but I'd say that we have not been as successful in that. And I think that, looking at other players in the same kind of space as we would be in, which is like, for instance, Einride, the Swedish company, doing autonomous, trucks. They are extremely good at, being able to find those grants from different, sources. And we simply don't have that I'd say, competence or culture within our organization. It's probably my own fault. I grow hair inside my paw when I get, the documents from whatever grants, paperwork that needs to be done to get to that point. It's like,
I can relate.
So I tend to find other ways going forward, good or bad, I don't know.
So what's the plan going forward? Do you still have your eyes on a future IPO?
I think that we need to promote future IPO as one of the options. So again, as soon as we have, we need to close this next round, where there's it'd be could be a more M&A related round with people or companies within the automotive industry to utilize synergies, in manufacturing, sourcing, logistics, customer financing, and whatnot. But as soon as we're in that position with that behind us, I think that we will activate the pre-IPO process that we kind of slightly got into to be able to to become IPO ready by 2025, to be able to at least, if that's an option, be quick and fast.
So maybe the hardest question to ask or answer. So if someone would take over Cake tomorrow, what do you think would be the first thing they'd change?
But they'd probably throw me out. No,
right.
It depends very much on who is actually taking over. But I think that if it's an automotive someone, they will spend efforts to make sure that we kind of chisel Cake to fit into their structure, which is frustrating. And that's potentially also why, we need to find someone who shares perspective in the best of ways. If it's only about someone, acquiring whatever there is here for pragmatic reasons and not understanding the upside of building an even stronger brand and doing, pursuing the plan that there is, without saying that I'm stubbornly, just sticking to my what my idea would be. But I think that it will demand a kind of mutual dialogue to find our way forward,
right.
Because otherwise we'll end up hating each other, and will be the end of it. So it's very much up to what type of investor or merger or acquire that we will end up doing,
right,
or being with.
All right, so we're running out of time. So super interesting to hear your story, and thanks a lot for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.